Hey friends, Jeff. This is the first of our stress and security panels. I'm on with TJ.
Hey.
And we have 3 new friends. We have 2 new friends and 1 longtime friend who's joining us.
Don't say old friend. Good catch. Good catch.
Kristin Messegee is with us again, representing the 6s. Friends, you won't know this, but I think the last 20 times I've said Kristin's name, I've mispronounced it in a way that I won't say because it'll get back into my brain.
That was impressive.
Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you.
And Kristin has invited 2 of the folks that she does 6 discussions with. The first is Christy Engle. Christy, where are you living right now?
Salisbury, Maryland.
Excellent. Tell me something about yourself.
Oh, I am living here, empty nest season with my husband. 2 grown boys live here in town. And I coach people one-on-one and work with groups around the Enneagram, but also general personal development, life coaching.
Wonderful. Got an Enneagram coach. Nicole, where are you living?
I'm in Austin, Texas, near Kristin.
Wonderful. Give us a fun fact about yourself.
Yeah, I born and raised in Austin, which is actually rare, and I have 4 kiddos, and I am also a coach, but I work more in the perinatal season, postpartum season with families with new babies. So I lead groups, I do a lot of coaching with moms, and I have a somatic training as well, so I do a lot of somatic coaching.
Excellent. We're going to be talking about the soma quite a bit up front. So that's good. That's going to be quite helpful. Do people who are born in Austin leave and then it just gets filled with, other people?
There's a lot of California people coming to Austin. I don't know if they leave, but it's just rare. Like, it's rare to meet people born and raised in Austin.
Well, it used to be small, and now it's massive. And all the massiveness has been transplants, I think. Is that fair?
It is Texas. Everything's big in Texas.
It's true.
You're not running out of space anytime soon, are you?
Just water. It's fine, though.
Just
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Everyone's running out of water. That's not a Texas exclusive. Like, you all are special down there.
Thanks, TJ. Thanks for that. Smackdown.
I mean,
right
you're special
from the
for
beginning.
other reasons.
Sure,
Just not for
sure.
the water thing.
Look at the 9 just cutting.
We'll talk about specialness and your stress move in a minute, but beginning with a different topic. To get into stress and security, I really want to just talk about the 3 centers and what your relationship is with each of your centers. I would love to start with your emotions and the relational energy that you have. So when thinking about your emotional life and your relational life and your own relationship to those emotions, what comes to mind?
Our relationship to our emotions. Is that the question?
Yep.
And
I can rephrase that. Did that
No,
come out
it's
weird?
fine.
No, I
No.
think that works.
Or-
I can go first.
Yeah. Or a shorter version, talk about the heart center.
Okay.
Yeah, your relationship.
I would say I spent many decades very detached from my emotions. Or if I had emotions, it was more focused on just being positive, like really trying to just be with the good feelings and not a lot of the negative feelings. That could have been some family of origin stuff, but I would say that I really wanted to look positive. I felt safer. I mean, I know this now. I felt safer if I looked really positive and laid back, and it's taken some time to really begin to connect to the reality of some of my more painful emotions, and that's just taken some time and work to really begin to turn towards those and begin to feel those.
When talking about painful emotions, you mean real emotions that you have with other people, or are you describing something else?
What do you mean by emotions with other people?
When thinking about painful experiences in your emotional life, is what comes to your mind, here's where there's been tension, brokenness between me and another person, or are you referring to something else?
I would say both. I think any element of that, like here's brokenness here that's painful, or here's even, turning towards my own anxiety, my own internal landscape. So I would say both.
Perfect. Any other one?
So back in the day, I'm one of those sixes that like didn't know fear. So I thought. So I was very comfortable with, I kind of ran on anger and self-righteousness, I would say, for most of my life. And then as I've grown and learned how scared I am, there's been a real tension, just dealing with a real tension inside of me of realizing how afraid I am.
Mm.
And then my thoughts about that have been tricky to navigate because I'm not a fan. So I think a lot about my emotional life, and I will say do a lot of work there. A lot of my work is around my heart center, let's say.
Chrissy, do you have thoughts on your emotional life?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot when I was typing and figuring out if I was a 9 or a 2 or a 6, which was my typing journey. I have always thought that I was in touch with my emotions. It's why I kind of thought I was in the heart center, possibly. But I think further reflection and work has borne out that my emotional center was more reactionary than it was. That I think that speaks to my reactions than it does processing emotion, especially in a healthy way. And I, as a self-preservation 6, what I've learned is that I'm very heady on the inside and heart-led on the outside. And part of that, for sure, is a protective mechanism. Like, if I am sweet and kind and soft to you, then you'll be sweet and soft and kind to me, and then I'll be safe. So that, for sure, has served me in that capacity. And the other thing that came to mind was that I definitely have reactions around anger, other people's anger specifically. And it can even be anger that has nothing to do with me, or anger that's a bit removed from me, like I'm not even in close proximity. And like I have an internal guard that goes up and says like, danger. So yeah, that's what came to mind.
You got thoughts, Steve?
I thought it was interesting that all three of you sort of like spoke about emotional life from a bit of an observation standpoint. Like, that's all we're doing. We're observing ourselves, right? But there's still, we talk about how much sixes, there's so much relationality within sixes. The reactivity, the emotional, or the emotional response type stuff. Like, there's a lot of emotional and relational processing happening with sixes, but it's still happening in the head center. Like, there's so much, like, you're thinking about it. You're using your data, your information to think about your emotions and how they're supposed to be. And I feel like all three of you sort of showcase that a little bit, but it is a really important distinction to note. Like, people who live from that heart center speak about emotions and relationships differently. People who live from the head center speak about it from a little bit more of an observational standpoint. And I heard that when all of you were talking.
Does that ping for you that you find yourself mostly thinking about relationships? Or do you think about relationships only at certain times?
I mean, it's like, yes, but also what relationships? There's my relationships that I have in my life. There's my relationship to my community. There's my relationship so yes, but like it's very all over the place. It's not like just people.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm like,
well
is
said.
that a good answer? Is what my
You're self-reporting, Kristen.
Yeah.
You were all way too quiet. I was apparently looking for more there.
Let's talk about the head in your relationship with the thinking side. Or I'm sorry, do the other two of you have thoughts on?
Well,
on the
I
question?
think I just want to, I think it is helpful for us to chime in just to have another, like, source. But I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I think you're right, Jeff. I think most things, there's a lot of thoughts about relationships, whether it be, on a collective level or one-to-one, or, I feel very oriented to that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
But is there also a relationship to like things? I feel like relationship is such a broad like, I know that I don't think about things very much, but I know there are sixes who really hang out in like their relationship to their money, their relationship to their like other things that help them feel certain and secure. All the
Yeah, that's a good
sixes,
point.
even if they're not in the room.
So for me, like my partner's a 6. We have a lot of the 6-9 dynamic going on between us, and one of the things that we discuss pretty often is like our different relationships to things like clutter and money, like our financial status. I have a very different perspective on our relationship to those things, and for her, if she doesn't have a clear sense of her standing with our finances, she is unsafe. She is uncomfortable. It doesn't necessarily mean that she needs to, like, that she has the state of our finances and her understanding of it is an emotional place for her. Like, it affects her emotions in a way that it does not affect mine.
That's what I was. Yes, thank you.
Yes, I resonate with that as well. Actually, both what you are saying, TJ, and also the relationship to other people component. If my relationships are unsteady or uncertain, or I sense conflict there, I will not sleep and I will not like rest. And I have to come to some level of resolution. And that's a really hard place because I'm also very conflict avoidant. So now I'm in a place where I have to have a really hard conversation and I have to burn a lot of calories to get myself like geared up for that conversation. And it's going to take a ton of mental energy, but I'm going to do it because I wouldn't be able to not do it.
It's perfect. Let's talk about your head. So this is a place that is really interesting. 6 take in the world through their thinking center, but don't engage the world with productive thinking. Can you talk about your relationship with your mind and how you think about your thinking?
Happy to.
I was going to say, if the answer is no, that is an acceptable answer.
No, I feel like we have a lot of thoughts about this.
Exactly.
It's really interesting because I have an active practice. I mean, this is what I do for a living also. So I'm thick in this land right here. Like, I have an active practice of not believing my thoughts very intentionally. I actually know the thoughts, the reactive thoughts, like I know where they show up in my vicinity. Like, I know thoughts that show up here, gesturing up and to the left, are not to be believed. Thoughts that come from a different place, thoughts that I've generated on purpose, those are the ones I work with, because my automatic thinking it's just very negative. It's very busy, it's very negative, and it's negative externally and internally, and I don't live by those thoughts because it's just not my best life, we'll say. So learning that and learning how much story I add to everything. You know, I have a feeling, there's a narrative. I see something, there's a narrative. Someone says something, there's a narrative. I have a ping in my shoulder, like there's a narrative. So learning about that has, you know, I feel like that's not negotiable work for 6s to do.
Just to clarify, you can see a category of thoughts that you shouldn't trust. I have no idea what that feels like.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
with-
shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, and I try to help people find this because they'll come from somewhere specific, and you can kind of start to rely on like the thoughts the ones that are also repetitive. Like, I have one that says, "You're being reckless." I have learned that is a specific thought that's purpose is to kind of keep me safe and in my place. But I've seen it so many times that now I'm like, thank you, brain. Of course. You know, if I don't overthink this email and my brain's like, "You're being reckless," I'm like, I can bring up some thinking to that and be like, pretty sure that's not true.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
It's like
Nicole,
a
you
reader
would,
board out here.
Nicole, you would relate to that.
Absolutely. When I really like learned I was a 6, I was working with a coach where I was doing a lot of like, we were tapping into like, what is your relationship with your body? What is your relationship with your mind? What is your relationship with your heart? And the image I had of my mind was like a maniacal train driver, like maybe like a clown driver who's driving the train. I mean, just out, wild, uncontrollable.
Laughing
And it was
the whole time like a crazy
yes,
person.
laughing,
Yeah.
maniacal, just out of control. And it was the first time that I was like, oh, I can't follow that train. Like that train leads nowhere good, and then my body and all these other pieces were very shut down. So that is how I feel like my mind can be. And even hearing Kristin say this feels like a fresh reminder because it's a constant battle. Like it's just so easy to just follow that train for me and not even know it, and then realize like, oh, there's lots of thoughts that I'm believing and listening to right now. And so, yeah, it feels very out of control.
You got thoughts, Chrissy?
Yeah, I'm really resonating a lot with what you both are saying. I definitely have like a meta sense of like watching my brain in action and processing, and also feeling like in my work, learning that I cannot believe every thought that flies into my head, and I certainly can't act on it, because when I do, and just like Kristin said, creating these narratives, especially like these, again, conflict comes up, like if I'm considering a conflict or a perceived conflict, then I'm going to say this and then they're going to say this and then I'll make sure to say this, and then like my brain goes off on it. And being able to pause there and not let my brain run away is a real practice. Because when I act on those perceptions and those impulses and those assumptions, there's always regret on the other side of that. It never really goes well. So I've learned that practice, and a lot of grounding work, a lot of coming back to what I know is true work, and a lot of building up trust in what I know is true, trust in the other person with whom sometimes I have been developing a relationship with for decades, and yet I still have an untrust or a guard or a fear there. So a lot of work around coming back to some truth and some grounding there.
It's good.
I do want to add that I think in doing the work that it sounds like, we're doing as 6s, there is a positive relationship with my mind, in that if I can harness that energy and put it towards something I actually want to solve, something that is important to me, I find a lot of power and satisfaction in that. But if it's restless and kind of like unchecked, it's going to run that wild train ride. But if I can harness it and really put it's actually very powerful, and I get a lot of like satisfaction out of that.
And here, Nicole, is where I find too, like what you're talking about, I find that by being really intentional about engaging my heart and getting down into my body and softening into that experience, then I'm at a much more stable place to be able to deal with whatever is the challenge in front of me.
I do want to ask about, so within the teaching about 6s, we have to mention the phobic, counterphobic spectrum, and there's like, you have much more like fear-centric and outward fear on one end, and much more sort of reckless, like I'll show you how unafraid I am on the other end, and most 6s live on that spectrum and move around it constantly. Part of what 6s struggle with is they don't trust themselves. They don't trust the information being accurate. It doesn't matter who's driving the train. It could be a maniacal clown. It could be someone who has 100 years of engineer experience. There's still a level of distrust there, right?
Fair.
And
Yes.
Rude.
that's totally fine. That's part of what helps keep us alive. We've made it this far as a humanity because of 6s keeping us alive. But there's a sense of like, those thoughts are not to be believed. But I'm guessing that before you figured that out, those thoughts still weren't to be believed. It was just a less intentional kind of understanding. Like it was more of a distrust than a
No.
No?
You just go. You just be. I lived from those thoughts.
okay.
So I didn't have any idea that my thoughts weren't true. They felt very, very, very true.
Okay.
So when I'd be worried about what my husband was eating and thinking that he was going to die tomorrow, I would act on that. I would get up in his business. I would, I couldn't hide my angst and my fear. I wasn't questioning anything going on inside of me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just need to go and address the situation at hand. So if we're gonna do, phobic all just makes me twitchy. I don't love that
Sure.
discussion. But I will say I will move quickly towards conflict. I would move quickly toward confronting people. I'm the sixth that took out a couple different bosses in my younger days, like this aggression will not stand, that type of thing. I had no mechanism to stop and be like, are these thoughts you want to pay attention to? Like that was just a non-thing for me.
Okay.
What do y'all,
Yeah, that's great.
well, the other sixes, do you relate to that? Or did you always have a sense of questioning your...
No,
No, it wasn't until the Enneagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, hey, you're in the head center. I didn't even know I was in, like, I did not consider myself to be a heady person at all. Very
Me
much
neither.
like Christy. I was like very heart centered. I'm so warm. Everybody, everyone loves me and I love them. I mean, I thought I was a 2 initially or a 7. I was like, I'm so fun. But internally, it wasn't until I read this thing about 6s with like the duck being calm on the top and the little legs, flittering at the bottom, that I was like, that is my experience. But no one knows it because they see the top, and they don't see. So yeah, I don't think I questioned my thoughts at all.
Yeah, and I was just more like bull in a china shop. I didn't know that was not a way to be.
It's interesting, like in terms of self-discovery, when getting into the Enneagram, this was a primary revelation for you. Is this like one of the first things you discover about yourself? Is something of this nature?
Well, and for me, I was learning how to coach. I was getting a coaching skill set, and it was literally thought work. So the first like layer that I was taught was like, you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are set. And I was like, what? What? Like I had no idea. I mean, I can literally remember the moment. Like it changed my life forever. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know you could choose thoughts. I mean, it was just wild.
Yeah. Does your thinking choose your thoughts, or does something else choose your thoughts?
It just appears.
You have
And now I know I
thoughts.
can choose thoughts on purpose. Thought appears is how I describe it.
When choosing a thought, is that coming out of your thought life, or is that coming from somewhere else?
When on purpose?
Yeah.
Well, like Christy's already alluded to, and we'll get there probably in the security moves. There's a bit of work. It's like detach, do body stuff, then think.
Oh,
That's how I operate.
perfect. Well, let's talk about your relationship with your body. And I want to include intuitions on this front in terms of like there is the physical stuff that you do, but there's also your intuitive life. Do you all have a sense that you have a relationship with your body?
Do you mean like the physical body or like intuition? Like they're
Well,
very
both.
different questions.
Said both. Yeah.
I mean, you can separate them if you want. If it feels different, that's just fine.
Very typical to a 6's journey, I was not in touch with my intuition and my own inner wisdom. I outsourced that on the regular. I would ask 8 other people what they thought. so that I could gather backup was a big motivator there. In case this thing goes sideways, I know that these people are already in my corner because I've had that pre-conversation. And so learning to, I think first, what I was going to say is I think first I was learning to not substitute their judgment for my own. I'm not sure though that I ever wanted someone to tell me what to do. I just wanted assurances. And in a particular job situation, it really became clear I was learning the Enneagram in tandem with this job. And I would always show my supervisor the email before I sent it. Does this look okay? Is this a good response? And in reflecting on that in real time when I was learning the Enneagram, it became very clear that I just wanted to know that should this come back on me and this person, the recipient, is not happy with my response, I've already got him in my corner, so safety is already assured over here. So a lot of work around learning, trusting that I already am resourced, and trusting that I already have the ability to know, as well as anybody else has the ability to know who is not walking in my shoes. And then taking tentative steps was early in the journey to act on that without having to do the consulting work first.
Hey, any other thoughts?
I have so many thoughts.
Nicole, you are a somatic
Nicole,
practitioner.
go. I'm trying not to talk the whole time.
You're not. Similar to my heart center, I was very detached from my body and really wanted to push against its limits. I feel like I made a lot of choices through my life. I was a birth worker for 10 years. Not sleeping was a badge of honor. It was yeah, screw you, body. I'm going to not sleep. I can. And I think, so I was detached from my body, not wanting to listen to it. And, my body has scared me probably for a long time, the unknowns of my body. I have a decent amount of health anxiety, and I don't know how much of that, was related to that. But around the time of some of the real transformative work, when I really first started doing it and really began to see how much I had cast my body aside and how much that maniacal clown driver was driving the train, I really began to get curious, what was, what my body, the resource of my body, what my body could give me. And that just feels like a long journey. It doesn't feel, it's not, I still look at people that feel very body centered and wish I had that, wish I could have that gut hit, or it just feels harder. It feels like a journey. And so, one of the reasons I started studying somatic work was because I was just hitting up against certain transformative work with moms in particular around birth. And it was such a body thing that I was oh, I think I need to look at the body. And so I feel like we've been in a repair, learning to listen, learning to respond, learning to care for my body, learning to, trust it.
I have a real quick follow-up before I jump to you, Kristin. You mentioned what my body could give me, which I think is a real interesting phrase, and I was hoping that you could build on that a little bit.
I just, now I see the centers as resources, not, or at least, I don't know. I see a body as a resource, as something that is there for a reason. And I think that kind of thought helps me feel curious about why I have a body and what I can do with that.
Yeah.
Kristin's laughing at me. This is the most sick explanation of a body.
Great. I guess it's there for a reason. Oh, that's awesome.
Kristin, you
Nicole
want
and
to
I
build
are
on that?
good friends, okay? So I'm allowed to laugh at her.
Yes.
Oh,
we
of
are
course.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear.
We don't like laughter on our podcast, but I'll allow it this time. What are your thoughts on that, Kristin?
So it's just so interesting. It's just also interesting. I think I've always really trusted my body and I've always really trusted my instincts. And I think that has actually helped me quickly learn to detach from my thoughts because I have trust inside. where I know working with so many different sixes, that's not necessarily and even in our conversation here, you can hear just these differences. So that's all I have to say about that. I think I've just always really trusted my body. I've always felt good in my body. And even though there's been, I mean, all kinds of like body issues in terms of my relationship to it, even as just a woman in the world and that sort of thing, there's a lot there. The foundational experience of being in my body has always felt pretty good. And then sometimes something will come up that will cause my anxiety clown train to get going. And I'll have those experiences too, for sure. But I always kind of trust it, know it's there. And I've always been very physical too, in terms of doing something, like I started yoga very, very young, always kind of kept that going. I've always felt better when I'm actively engaging my body. And then probably just most disconnected from it when I had little kids, and everything in my life just felt like it was blown to bits. I think that I went full head for a while.
Yeah, it was a time of neglecting the body. Is that what you're saying? Right.
That is
Does neglect end up being like I'm not doing anything physical, or does neglect materialize as like overeating or overconsumption, or?
For me, it's under eating, over caffeinating, running. This probably has to do with, that stress move to 3. It's like, I've got this. Nicole, you were kind of talking about, like, I've got this and no one else is doing it right. It all gets very like ramped up. That's what it looks like for me. It's like, I can just keep going. I can do more. Get out of my way. I have to, it starts to really just ramp up.
Yeah.
So I probably should just drink more coffee.
You got
I'm down.
questions, CJ? I got follow up if
Talking about drinking more coffee, I'm in. I am wondering, so I'm curious about you mentioned that 3 women growing up in Western society it's 2025 now. We are all aware of some of the sort of expectations and perspectives placed onto women's bodies, and 3 mothers as well. And I'm curious about your sense of responsibility to your body specifically. So you mentioned like the doing the over caffeinating, under eating, and just go. I know a 6 who is like, there are rules about how you are supposed to take care of your body, and if things are wrong in your life, it's because you're not drinking enough water, not getting enough sleep, and not eating enough salad, and all of these things. And I guess to sort of leapfrog all of that, like I want to talk about that, but particularly I'm wondering about that, like what happens when you follow all of those rules and you still don't get the results. So I think that particularly speaks to like the early childhood years, is because you can do all of the things right and your body still changed because of having children, and there's nothing to do about that reality, but there is still a sense of like how you were supposed to fix your postpartum body. Does that make sense? So I'm curious about
TJ,
all of that,
it does.
all of that.
What the hell? Diving in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it speaks to the bigger, not to get away from the body, it certainly does include that, but there's a bigger idea that if I can do the prescribed plan that I have set forward or that I have adopted, then I will reach a certain outcome. And that showed up in areas way different than my body. That showed up in parenting. That showed up in relationships. It showed up in
all of them.
All of the things.
Areas.
I will have a plan. I will execute said plan, and I will get the expected result. And when that doesn't happen, like everything's upside down. Nothing is stable. Nothing feels reliable. And that's a whole, like, there's an existential crisis here now. Like, my world did not go in the way that the path that it should have. And so, like, sort of deconstructing all of that and figuring out what in the world? Now I can't trust anything. Is its whole other. So yes to everything you said, but I see it as a much bigger thing than like this one conversation.
And I think that's a great tie into the stress security moves, because in my experience, so like for me, TJ, I was chronically ill for a couple years, and it very much fit that formula. I'm doing everything that I think I should be doing. I cannot get the outcome I want. And again, I could name 10 other situations like that, but this was a particular one in my body. And it's like, as we talk about it, I can see the move to 3, you better work harder. You better find the doctor, you better find the supplement, you better clean up your diet. Like the striving that could be involved with like just that energy, or, moving more to 9. And for me, kind of diving into some of the existential, like even just like spiritual pieces for me being, a better move than like, but I'm doing both, it's like I'm doing both. I'm burning out here, so then I'm falling to having to surrender to how out of control I am in that area and find some other tools. So, I mean, I think it's a very poignant question that we obviously all really relate to.
I think what blows my mind, TJ, in hearing you frame the question so well is that there are other ways. I'm like, I could hear it as you were phrasing it. It was just like, this is so 6y as he's describing it. And my system is like, well, what the fuck else is there except to try everything and to try to fit in? It's a lot. And then let's say someone else's well-being also, right? So it's not just my body, my well-being, when I'm supposed to maintain fixed levels of health, physically, all of that. But then there's all these other people whose physical well-being feels very much my job.
Yeah.
That's
or even emotional well-being. I mean, talk about parenting, like, yeah.
Yes, it's really intense. And then, so to find some sort of actual balance with that is a thing. And then to also, I don't like this part, but to own the impact of my efforts that can be negative, right? So when I'm spinning out about everybody's health and my whole family is like, what, and that makes me want to, dive in more to really be with like, okay, I'm trying to have an impact so everyone's just great. And the actual impact of my behavior is potentially negative. That sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm hearing 2 things. One is just how pragmatic, how give and take the relationship it sounds like you all have with your body is, that I'm going to give, but I'm going to receive. And like, I never come to my body with that in mind as a I don't have transactions with my body. I don't have a agreement arrangement. I never, for example, use the category of trust as though my body were something that I needed to evaluate as either, that it may be malicious towards me. So that I just find that fascinating, and it's worthwhile in terms of moving towards stress, is because we've set this up with what's your relationship with your body, mind, and heart. The security move seems to me to very much be about your relationship with your body. And what I'm hearing is when you actually are in security, it's a lot of receiving, and it's a lot of, I do trust my physical experiences in this moment. Am I wrong in saying that? Would you characterize your security move as more than that?
Meaning when we're there, or like getting there? Like, what's it like?
Yeah.
Or...
When you are there, can you report what your physical experiences are from the front? Can you experience what's going on when you're in secure land?
We don't know, Jeff. We don't know. No.
Well, you should think about this.
Yeah, because it's not just about like just chill out, just calm down. Like just don't be anxious anymore. That's not a real thing.
Yeah.
there is a body experience in that security spot.
That's what I'm saying.
For me, there's just a lot less. Oh, here. Okay. So there's a groundedness that I had to actually build space for. I didn't like it at first. It felt unsafe. I didn't know what to do with like calm. I was like, oh, intermittent fasting, that's fantastic. Because who wants to slow down and eat in the morning when you can just drink more coffee and have great ideas? Well, so when I started eating breakfast, because I'm a, middle-aged woman who should probably nourish herself, I would feel very steady and stable. And I had to work with that. I was like, am I exhausted? Am I totally fatigued? Like, what is this just grounded energy? So I've really had to learn to trust and be with a calmer, more regulated version of myself. It's just a lot less of what I think makes me great.
Did you not encounter that from yoga?
No, because I would take the hardest, most intense yoga classes that I could find.
Yoga
It
was your
power
workout.
yoga,
Yeah.
hot yoga. Now
Yeah.
I do yin yoga. Now I know to go and just now I love it. But that was a journey, we'll say.
TJ, what do you do with calm? Didn't know what to do with calm. What do you do with calm?
I mean that's where I live, so I don't. I mean, what do you do with air?
The fact that calm has become commoditized here in your understanding that it's like I'm looking at it, I'm kind of analyzing it. Not sure if I should trust calm. Peace.
This isn't
and
the eye of the
serenity
storm. It's just
is to be.
Tuesday.
So I love that as a
Is
phrase.
relatable to my
I think what I was thinking.
I think you're describing the security move really well. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if it feels like a letting down of the guard, which feels reckless
Yes.
on some level.
Exactly.
And also, there's a sense that, like the other shoe will drop. That's the other thing too. That I think if we're in calm now, just like bear down, but be watchful, because this will not stay. This is not trustworthy. That for sure feels true of calm to me.
I want to build on that because it seems to me the primary way that we get into our security space is when our motive is satisfied. So if it is the case that you have earned the security and you have done all the check markable things that are reasonable and allow yourself, I suppose, there is, I suppose, a pivot. You can always be in excess and continue to put forth, well, what about this? What about this? But assuming that you are a moderate person, would you describe the letting down of the guard when it's reasonable?
Like we will only let down if it's reasonable.
I suppose I'm trying
Or when,
to manufacture
what's this leading
a
question here,
road.
Jeff?
My assumption is that there is a place where the six can say, what is mine to do in terms of looking out for myself and those I care about has been successfully done. And that allows me permission to move into a space of calm. Are you suspicious of this theory, Kristin?
I'm not.
Go ahead, Nicole.
No, you go ahead. He has to.
I'm
can
just
chime in after.
because he's looking at my snarky face. Sure, there's a world in which if everyone is okay for a moment in time, I can. I mean, I don't even know what you're asking.
For the
No,
you
I
don't
get
know
what
it,
you're asking.
You don't know what it would
Nicole
look
gets
like
it
for.
though. Let me
I
answer.
feel like I get what you're asking, but I mean, maybe I'm speaking for all of us, but I think you have to understand that list is never ending.
That's
Like there's not a satisfied point when it's finally done. So it's reckless to set the list down. And so it's, from my perspective, we don't pursue our healthy, like 9 energy. It has to be something else. And for me, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, for me, in some ways, I've been forced to. It's like, okay, the list is not working. The list, it's like, how many times am I going to bang my head against this wall with the list not working? And then also seeing the ways it impacts people, like Kristin said. So if we begin to see, oh, the list is actually hurting my family, oh, the list is actually hurting my work, then it's like we're forced to be like, can you make a choice in this direction? But it's hard. And I just love that they spoke to the activating nature of choosing that it actually requires a certain amount of discomfort to allow ourselves to let down. And yeah.
But okay, to kind of circle like the whole relationship thing and all this stuff, 6 has to come up against, there's like probably all numbers to some degree, right? You have to come up against your strategy's not working. So for me, it really is like the relationships in my family. I had to confront that my angsty, kind of always on, always watching wasn't working, and my desire for healthy relationships with them trumped my strategy. And that's what keeps me kind of always able to do my work in my family, is what I want is bigger than my fear, I will say. Or that's probably not said right, but y'all know what I mean. You have to
I think
want
it's said
something
well.
more than your bullshit for all of us,
Yeah.
right?
I want to point out, just within that description, we always talk about calm in a way that is like the still pond in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, the rocking on the porch on a windless day. Like, calm is like everything's peaceful, everything's serene. But calm can also be like the thing that is picked up at 9 can also be not striving anymore. So part of that move, like when you're talking about your relationships with your family trumps your strategies, like the calm that you're getting there is actually like, I don't need to fix them. It's whatever responsibility I feel toward this, it's not necessarily mine to do. Or even, I'm gonna let these people be their own people and not put my thumb on the scale.
Wild concept, but yes.
It's where I live. It's amazing. And from here, you can actually put your thumb on the scale a little more sneakily. It's better.
That's
No, I think we all have that.
And that,
Go ahead. Yeah.
it seems to me, so I think there's a handful of avenues to gain to your security move. And so maybe just emphasizing some of these alongside, one is your motive might be satisfied. You actually feel like you're secure and safe and have earned it, and that may open a door. It feels like the Buddhist move of you just deny your motive, of saying, I don't need to ensure my safety. And some of the holy ideas push into this space in a healthy way, I think, for 6s, where it would be something like, look, I have the strength. Look, I do trust myself. And whatever comes up, I don't know why I need to challenge that. And that in and of itself, that posture would create the sense of quote unquote calm,
That's it
physical
for me.
trust that I desire. Yeah, you want to comment on that?
That's been what I've done. Like, I've had to, this is a terrible way to say it, but kind of fake it till I make it. Like, it sounds terrible, but I'm going to let my husband be the independent grown ass man that he is. Like, literally, and I have to remind myself of that. And then, oh my gosh, this posture that I can take, wow, how much better for a marriage. I'm interested in him. I'm curious about him. I actually want to know him. I want a relationship with him. I'm interested in his thoughts about the world. They're quite different than mine. And that actually has been okay and interesting. And so to get fruit from kind of muscling a different posture is like a virtuous cycle to me, right? So like to continue to eat breakfast and feel nourished and be like, I actually do like this. Those sorts of things. Yeah. Way better living is creates, okay, I want to keep doing that, even though it's not because my motive ever is going to feel satisfied. I think that's just not how it works. Because we're always going to kind of have our thing, right?
Yeah, I think my thought around this, especially TJ, when you were talking about like the mountain pond or whatever being like everything is stable and serene, is the fact is that life is not stable and serene. And so we have to find our calm in the midst of things not being. Not like when the environment does not support us feeling stable and serene, when we can still find that within ourselves by grounding in our body, by contacting our heart center, and by being fully integrated, fully balanced there, and not just spinning off in our head and making plans and going down the rabbit hole of anxious striving. When we can ground and center, then in the midst of things not being stable, because all shall be well and all shall be well and all manner of things shall be well is lovely, except for my thought on the other side of that is, but what when it's not? Like, because it's also not fine and well. And so
And
when my
shall
brain
be is
can,
a future date. What about right now?
yeah, my brain can offer all the evidence why it's not well and good. So that's taking care of all the things is not the move, because that list never ends.
I want to build on that real quick, and Nicole, I'll let you comment here in a second. One of the other, there's a handful of avenues, I suppose, into our security move, but another is pushing into time orientation. And what I'm hearing with eating breakfast and not focusing on the thing after, focusing on the thing after is a future orientation to time, which is where you live. So the 5, 6s, 7s all have future oriented fears that color their perception of the world. But if you choose to move away from the future and give the future less power and say, I am here in the present eating my cereal, which is nourishing my body, that feels like a very intentional embracing of the present and the physical. And I would associate that with 9 space. I have a good friend who got real sick on a boat, and she is a 6, and she decided to take a long bath with some candles and there was a move towards engaging the body in that space. And all of a sudden, like, her experience of the boat and all that it entailed dissipated, and she came to herself in what I took to be a secure way. Do you'll have thoughts on getting into the present in your physicality in that way? And I would love to start with you, Nicole, since you do somatic practice. Or does anyone else have thoughts?
I'll say breath work. Breath work brings me to the present. It immediately calms me when I bring my attention in, when I am rooted and grounded in here and now, saying, because again, all these thoughts and the lists and the swirling, but grounding says, I am safe now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in this moment. In this moment, I am well. And so that's a real easy entry point for me.
I think what comes up for me is I've never framed it as orienting to present time, but I feel like a lot of my healing journey has been around just turning towards myself and being able to be with what is here now. And so, I think part of what I've needed as a 6 to heal is to not be like, everything's fine. It's like, no, like if I'm turning towards myself and I'm like, you're really scared, or you're really sad, or you're really happy here, it's something about being with my own experiences in the present. I do think there is a more grounding, a more present, a more ability to care for myself and like an experience peace and nurturing and caring in that actual moment. Yeah.
Well said. Last thoughts, Kristin?
I agree with all that. This has been said. One of the phrases that I use and that I teach a lot is right now. Like 6s have to give their brain time boundaries, is how I talk about it. So yeah, what's happening right now? Are you okay right now? And then doing all the actual practices to really feel into that. are your people okay right now? Like, what is going on right now? And then I just want to say that it's such an ego hit because we sixes find so much of their value in predicting the future for everyone. So it's just an interesting tension to say, maybe all that doesn't matter. Maybe all that's not as important as you think it is. Maybe all that. So there's the how, and then there's, again, from a mental place, how to relate to that. Because you have to kind of give yourself permission. And you have to kind of wrestle with like, well, what is my brain for anyway? Like, there's just a lot to it. But in terms of how to and all that, yes.
You're hitting the last of the things that I think is if for those wanting to get into their security space, it's you engage your repressed center in very, very, very healthy ways. And so if sixes are able to get into their productive thinking, and we've talked about that a handful of times, that ends up creating an avenue.
Soapbox for a quick second, because this is one of my issues with kind of collectively, we were all mindset. And then in the whole coaching world, it was like, we got to get in our body, people. And it's like, right, we all got to get in our body. But I feel like what we're learning now is like, okay, then what? You actually still have to think. And so not doing the thinking on purpose piece it's like not completing even collectively what we need to do. Because there's get into your body, feel your feelings. Your feelings are valid. And it's like, well, okay, but then what? Where's the discernment, which is a gift of six, right? Is to get to clarity and discernment. So look at this move I'm making, right? So it's like, go into your body, and then we got to pull back up intentionally. And I get real fired up about that. There's my soapbox. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, that speaks pretty strongly to something that we're really big on, is that like you can't live in security. You can't, like, you just plain don't, period. And also
Shouldn't.
You can't.
Yes.
And from the sounds of it, like it's also however much good you draw from it, it's also not a place of comfort, right? And so that, like, if you're just trying to solve the problem of getting into your body, you will not be balanced.
Right.
You'll be stuck in this place that is still unbalanced. Even security, as good as it can be, it is an unbalanced place to stay.
That's well said.
Yeah, and forced security is always artificial. Last word on security moves?
Wait, say more, Jeff.
Well, it's
we were just talking
artificial.
about all these things that we have to do to get to security.
I suppose it's the case. We could probably go here for a second. Like in TJ and I's view, your worst self comes out in your security number. So when you have actual power and power over other people and power over your environment, and then your excessive worst self comes out, it will tend to be a move towards, I'm going to grab security in an artificial way because I have power, and especially if it's a self-serving power. So if it were the case, if this resonates with you, that like manufactured security that does damage to other people so that you feel the calm and safety that is truly desired. Like there are some sixes that I can point to, their worst self is going to look something like that. I don't know if that...
Can you give an example?
I can.
Because I have a thought about what this means, but it's sounding very different than where I think you're going. So I'm really curious what.
There was a high-profile person a while back that's, I think, is a six who is, what was the word used to this person? It's not just that they're neurotic, but they're always looking for perceived enemies. And so but they were in a very powerful position. And so what they did is they did great damage to their perceived enemies and to the system that they oversaw in order to feel stable in the world and to maintain their place. And I can see sixes at their worst looking something like that.
Jeff, am I on track here in following what you're saying? Are you making a very clear distinction between being in security and living in your virtue?
Well, not necessarily well, unpack that question. I don't know what you mean there.
Well, because I think that the idea that we can be in a really unhealthy space in a way that is maybe detrimental to others, to our community, in our security place, if I worded that correctly, if I reflected that back accurately, would be different than what the goal of learning the Enneagram would be, which is to move us from sort of our patterns and our vices into our virtue, which when we're living out our virtue, I don't see that as a move where we can also do great harm.
Absolutely. No, I think in my view, the Enneagram's a map, but maps don't tell you where to go. They just tell you they tell you what
The
how
options
things
are.
work. So if
Yeah.
you put your finger on, I want to be a healthy, happy person, that is on the map. But if I describe a 6 who's disintegrating, who's truly unhealthy in our view again is moving towards, I have power, I'm self-focused, I'm moving into excess in order to artificially grab hold of the security I desire in that space. I think it would look like that for a 6.
So I think this has a lot to do with the counterphobic spectrum. Okay. So if you get a 6 that blows themselves out from a counterphobic standpoint, that 6 now believes they are the authority. So we have to talk about this from an authority standpoint. So a 6 that is like, I am the authority. Now I need minions to exert my will, and everyone is against me and I'm against everyone. It's an extreme counterphobic move. But the extreme phobic move is, I can't do anything. I don't have any personal power. I need everyone to do everything for me. So I'm kind of someone, I want to say it's Tom Condon maybe, the tyranny of the meek is sort of the phobic expression of super unhealthy 6. And this could also be the low of 9, right? Like, I can't do anything. I can't be expected to make big moves. I have no sense of my own personal power. So I think it can look very different. TJ's nodding, so I feel good.
No, let me put just quick. I think some of the most violent people in our world are 6s who have attached to an authority who they see as very strong and powerful, and give them permission to do horrendous things because they are earning the security from that.
That's
strong
another
man.
example. You're exactly right.
Yeah, my thought when you were talking, Kristin, was maybe in your example, and not only, but that the counterphobic 6 can become the minion who's now outsourcing everything to
But they've got their own sense of power, but it's because they're just exerting the will of, because they aren't really making a choice.
And within the unhealthy security point, it's like they're really just going with the flow, like the following orders aspect of, like, we talk about that with Nazism and like some of the, like, just following orders. Man, that is an easy place to be.
Creates calm.
So upsetting. Yeah. It's so upsetting to me. Also, shoot, I just had a really other good thought. Oh, well, it won't be missed. Oh, no, here it is. So why we talk about the stress move, but 6s have to take on the high side of 3 in order to actually move into security, right? 6s have to claim their personal power. They have to develop a healthy sense of themselves and a healthy self-esteem and a sense of like, wait, I do know a thing or two. I wasn't actually born yesterday. I know a lot. I can share my quite developed perspectives on things in the world. I actually maybe could stand in conflict with someone else and not just like disintegrate. I see all that as very uncomfortable, healthy 3 stuff.
Yeah. Let's move to there. So I'm talking about the stress move. And in our view, just set this up, the stress move is not a negative move. It is utilizing tools in 3 space that often have restorative power, balancing power, and power, as you were saying, to create a balance. Friends, the second half of the conversation is up at aroundthecircle.org. It's not only free, but we are looking for folks who want to be part of upcoming stress and security panels in 2026. If you are certain of your type
and have done 3 or 4 work minimum with Enneagram, and you'd be willing to talk shop with us, go to aroundthecircle.org, get in touch with us, let us know that you want to be on our list. There's going to be links there to connect with us. And with that, may all good things be yours.